Welcome to episode 1 of the Pi Boy project. What is a Pi Boy? It's basically cramming a Raspberry Pi inside of an original Game Boy shell to play retro games is the entire purpose. These are not my pictures. Just wanted to give an idea of what we're trying to accomplish here. I'm actually going to use a Raspberry Pi model B2, I think is what it's called. We will be using an audio amplifier. I believe I have a 3-watt one. We'll link that in the description for that episode. We are going to reuse the original speaker. I did purchase this aftermarket control PCB. I cannot pronounce the name of the company that makes it, but when I do that episode, I will link that part in the description as well. We will not be using a QVS battery. I have a 2600 milliamp hour lithium ion battery we're going to use, 3.7 volts. We also have I believe it's a 5 volt up converter for this as well to run the Pi, which is not shown in this diagram, but this diagram again is just to give you a reference for what we're trying to do. And we're going to put all of this inside of a Game Boy. Just a few pictures here just to get the idea. I already have mine split apart, and I've stripped out most of the internals here. You'll see that when we go live action. And the end result, well, kind of looks something like this, minus a stupid zip tie holding it together. I haven't figured out how I'm going to get mine back together, but I'll come up with something and we'll do an episode for that. And I think this is it running a Sonic game or something. But anyways, this is the Pi Boy project. That is a Pi Boy. I'm sure there's probably a better, cooler name for it. In today's episode, we're actually going to get the display working. That's what we're going to do when we cut over to live action.
Okay, so we're going to modify. I don't know about modify. I'm basically going to, this is not wired correctly. I tried to just do it with a voltmeter. So this Pi actually has damaged the port. Doesn't work anymore. The card doesn't stay in there. So we have another one here we're going to work on, and I'm going to basically on that one solder the ports for this device right here, using the test point terminals. We have a list here, points, and we'll get to this later. Let's get set up here. Oh, hit tore. Just tape it down here. There we go. So I'm just going to build up just a little extra solder here to give our wire something to stick to. And we're going to attach the black ground wire to the PP6 test point. Again, I'm just going to heat up the pool here. I might heat up the wire as well when I'm doing this. You don't want to get a cold solder. So I'm just going to do the best I can, let the wire absorb the heat and it'll start to take the solder with it. Oh, that's not sticking very well. Okay, I'm a little rusty. It usually takes me a few solders to kind of get into the rhythm here. There we go. That's a good, okay, that's good. That's on there pretty decently. It's got a good tug. It's not wiggling. That's all we really need. Alright, let's do the video next, which is PP24, which is right here. And we're going to do the same thing again. I'm just going to kind of build up the point a little bit. I'm just applying a light pressure here. I want that solder to form a continuous bubble. There we go. Looks like our... Alright, and let's get a good brush here. Always like to go with a clean tip. And I want the solder to bond with the wire, so I'm trying to put as much heat into both as possible. And let it cool together, and it just makes a really nice joint there. There we go. Okay. And that's how we wire up. That's how we wire up the video and audio jack outputs there, and we'll move on to the next step. This is just a cheap 3.5-inch eBay monitor, basically Amazon or eBay. Get the box over here. It's no name, no brand, cheap crap. But anyways, these can run off 12 volts or 5 volts DC. In this application, I'm going to make this run off 12 volts DC. We'll get to that step shortly. For now though, let's go ahead and desolder. I want to desolder the video terminals here, or the excuse me, the yellow video terminal. I want to desolder. I'm going to desolder the white one too while we're at it, just to get rid of it. It came off really easy. And in its place, I'm just going to build up the solder. And there's probably enough there. I'm just really kind of temping all this together right now, just to see if it works. So I'm going to solder the yellow wire where I removed the other yellow wire. And in this case, I'm just going to place the wire on top of the solder and apply pressure. giving both heat to the wire and the solder beneath. I wanted to go. Okay, well that's a good temporary connection there. I already have the power leads connected right here. These are just kind of temped in as well. So for now, again, this just being a test, I'm going to leave that the way it is. Let's move on to the power supply. Oh, I have one out already. This basically is a 1 watt 5 volt DC to 12 volt DC converter. 4 pins, 5 volts DC in and out, 12 volts DC in and out. And that is where the second part of our diagram comes together. Okay, this might get a little tricky, so let's get the tape. On most circuits, I don't know if you can see it on camera, the white dot indicates pin 1. I don't have a soldering station. That's why we use tape. Okay. I think what I'll probably do is get some stake-on connectors for this big picture, or maybe a little mini circuit board or something. I don't know. I'm gonna there we go. I might completely botch this, but we'll see what happens. I'm just going to heat up the pins. I just want to see if I can get some solder to stick to it. Okay, that kind of works. Okay, we'll just keep going here. Concentrating right now. Okay. Well, let's give that a shot. Let's see. Pin 1 should be my voltage minus. Now this is since this is going to the monitor, this is the 12 volt output minus there. I'm going to trim this wire a little bit more. I want to get these really small. These are to heat up too. Alright, so minus is pin 3. I'm just going to kind of preheat up the wire here. I'm going to do it until I can feel it in my fingers. Okay, I'm just going to apply the wire and some pressure. I'm trying to transfer as much heat through the iron to the wire as possible. I may need more solder. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna see if I can just cheat and cut this. It's so not the way to do this, but again, just okay. I need to secure that. Okay, so that's basically our power circuits. I'm gonna pause it for a minute and see if I can find some shrink tube stuff or tape or something there, and we'll be back. Let's just get this out of the way for now. Okay, well, let's pull this back here. All right. Okay, this is secure. Just get this out of the way. Okay, this is power. This is power in, 5 volts in, okay. So, let me get my harness here. Okay, and if I remember, should be ground. This should be ground. This should be 5 volts. I'm just gonna, again, temporarily put this together. Piece of tape on that. Oh, don't have the wrist for it today. Yeah, I know this is ugly, just temporary. I need to see this working before I go any further. Just to keep it from shorting out. Okay. Power and video wired up. We should be ready for a test run. Just micro SD card. I have operating system preloaded on it. There we go. And I do need to attach this, which I believe goes this way. Sunlight to my eyes. There we go. None of these wires are stripped or anything. Get those over there, and
power supply. Where's my USB cable? Oh, here it is. I'm really hoping this is gonna work. Alright, let's see what happens. Let's do some voltage test. Definitely getting 12 volts, so that is working. But we have no display. I see. We'll come back. Alright, well, I had a couple things not hooked up right the last time. Most importantly, just amateur mistake. On the Pi, the yellow is the video signal and the black is ground. On most other devices, the yellow is ground, the white is signal. So I had those crossed on the previous setup. The eBay screen is gone. It didn't work. On voltage, that's over here. On voltage, it wouldn't even flicker. I know some of these require an input to be present to turn on. Off camera, I went ahead and realized I had the inputs flipped. So I went ahead and flipped those. This still would not turn on, but no big deal. Cheap screen, that's what it's for. Just playing around with. I will get this one to work. In the meantime, I went ahead and cleaned up my GPIO harness. These wires, at least for this project, I'm not going to need. I don't want to clip them just yet, just in case, so I just kind of just taped them off and separated them off to the side. These wires I will need for my inputs, which I will probably cover that in a separate video. And this is my 5 volts power going to my 5 volts to 12 volts DC converter, which will power the monitor essentially. So I'm just going to get that hooked up real quick, and I already have the operating system installed on an SD card. I have one already installed on this SD card, already set up and configured with Raspberrypi, and I don't have any inputs or anything mapped, it's just an install. This is a fresh, clean one. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hook up this monitor and this monitor at the same time. It's going to boot into this monitor, then by pressing 4 here I can switch over to this display. It'll be much easier to get this all set up and configured on here. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I need some tape. And we'll end this video with the monitor powering up. Take my yellow.
which is video signal on the Pi. I'm going to take it to ground on the monitor. I'm going to be moving this around, so I'm actually going to tape these and not just temp it in. This is not permanent the way. This is going to stay for now. And we'll take our video up. See, I did it backwards again. Did I? No, I did. Okay, we'll just cut that part out. The color's not matching. It's difficult to think about. We will certainly have to fix that so I don't forget that. And this is ground to black. The black from the Pi is a common ground for the video and audio. Okay. And I do need to put this back on. Okay. All right, I'm going to let me just get this hooked up for now. Let's get our power. Let's get our monitor video. This operating system has not been set up, so it'll boot us directly into setup. And just for now, we'll get a keyboard temp in. Okay. Let's get everything plugged in. So we're gonna pull this back a little bit. There we go. All right, let's turn it on and see what happens. There's a good sign. Okay, now I do have a monitor plugged into the HDMI, so it is going to boot to the HDMI by default. That's okay. In the setup screen here, we can hit 4 on our keyboard to switch this over to composite, and it works. I need to adjust the brightness and contrast, obviously. But that's a really good sign. Cool. Obviously, I'll have to get all the wires and everything
cleaned up, shortened. This is all really just temporary. I'm going to be on our damaged board. Again, the SD card does not hold here. I'm actually going to desolder the Ethernet and both USB ports on this one when it's finished, just to keep the height and space and everything down. But I'll need the keyboard and mouse and internet to get everything set up and configured. What I will be doing though too is I'm not going to completely abandon the USB port. I'm actually going to solder in a single height USB port into the side and just wire it over from here. It just won't be connected to the board, so I don't have the height when I remove those. But that is a success. Screen is powered up. Again, I already have the operating system loaded and pre-configured. This was all just kind of just do test and get it running. The next one we will do the input wiring for our control PCB. And that's it. Thanks for watching.